Where were you on the morning of September 11th?
On the morning of September 11th, I had taken that day off. Your oldest sister was a little over a year, and I was at home and I was listening to public radio, and Bob Edwards, who is the journalist on public radio, announced that a plane had gone into one of the towers, and he was under the belief, the way he described it, that it was maybe one of these little prop planes, and that it must have been a mistake by the pilot. And so, everybody's kind of freaked out, and so I'm listening to it, I'm not watching it. And then I get to the hair appointment, and we're watching the TV, and we realize that a plane has literally gone through one of the buildings, so clearly it's more serious. And I went home, sat down in front of the TV, and Gracie was there playing, and Gracie's nanny was there, and we saw the second plane go through.
At work, I was working in Austin, Texas, and I was at work.
Your first thoughts when you realized what had happened?
Well, it was quite a while before I saw it on the TV. Much later that day. And at that point in time, I think my first thoughts were, this is some fluke, crazy, whacked out, stupid stunt. I didn't recognize the magnitude of it.
Oh my God. My first thoughts that it was unbelievable, that it's just hard to grasp, that who would do something like this? It just seemed otherworldly, like it was not real. It was really hard to understand it.
Can you tell me about the conversations you had that morning?
Yes, I spoke to many people, and everybody was just in shock. Couldn't understand who would do this. Why would they do that? I flew. I had a job at the time where I flew all the time. This was one of the few days I didn't fly, and my oldest sister was actually flying. And so I was also in shock and worry about all the people, my colleagues that were flying, and what was going on with them.
Well, as I said, there were conversations with my coworkers like, what's going on? The internet's not working, the cell phones are not working, nothing's working. And then I came home from work because it was too strange. Nothing was working. At that point in time, I knew something, devastating had happened.
Did you know anybody that was in New York at the time or somewhat associated with what happened?
I subsequently learned that one of the lawyers that I used to work with, his brother was a fireman, and went up to save some people in one of the towers and died.
Later I found out that there is somebody from North Reading who was in the towers and did perish. He worked for Teradyne, and now there's a big memorial.
How has September 11th affected you?
It's made me recognize how important life is. It's made me recognize how we can't live in fear, how we need to be more of a supportive group. One thing that I thought was beautiful about after 9/11 is how everybody came together. And so it's impacted me in recognizing that we need to embrace strangers, embrace people, be more observant, because obviously these terrorists did a lot of stuff that people weren't aware of.
If I think of the whole breadth of time that has passed, it's very significant. I think it was a turning point, and it sort of shattered the dream and shattered the illusion of safety and insulation inside the United States. I've learned so much about the event that I'm very disappointed in the government. The government didn't do enough before the attack, and they did the wrong things after the attack. So I've lost a lot of confidence in the government. I was impressed with President George Bush. And that evening he came on the television and delivered what I thought was a very sincere and appropriate speech. And it gave me some sense of, I had some sense of confidence in the government at that time.
What did you do on September 12th?
I think I went to work. I had to the first day that the plane started, which I think were like the 13th or the 14th, actually flew, and I still have that ticket when the planes finally started taking off, talking to people about where they were and just trying to find some way to join and connect with people because it was such a devastating loss.
Did the events of the Boston Marathon take you back to the feelings you were feeling during that time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As devastating, as tragic, as sad, making me want to just connect with people.
Adding off of that, did you make any connections with anybody based on this experience or after this experience?
Yeah, I ended up, one of the lawyers who lost his brother, I connected heavily with him and told him that I had actually gone and seen his brother at the 9/11 museum. And after the marathon bombing, I've connected with a lot of people that ended up being there. One of them was in our church, and she was a nurse and was there and had to deal with that at the time of the bombing. So I've connected tremendously and still talk to people about that.
I feel much closer to New York City. I feel much closer to New York City, and when I pass the firemen and the fire engines in New York City, I feel a bit of a debt of gratitude, and I want to acknowledge them. I want to say, hey, I see you. I recognize you. I'm grateful for you. I know so much more now about terrorism, terrorist cells. I know more about Islam, although I'm careful not to equate Islam with terrorism. So I've become much more aware.
How do you think we can prevent this in the future?
My sense is that all conflict, almost all conflict, all over the globe, has really very little to do with religion or any of the other things that people try to pin on it. It has to do with equality. The reason that there are so many people who are drawn to these terrorist groups is because they feel so oppressed and they feel so left out and they feel so like they have no access to opportunity, they have no access to education, they have no way to better themselves or better their families.
To try to find similarities and resonance with people that we don't know, try to connect with people that we don't know, to be more observant, to try to get rid of differences and become less strangers, but more aware of what people are going through.
So if we want to reduce terrorism in worldwide terrorism, I really think that we need to start to look at addressing economic equality.
Do you think safety and who gets let in the country should be more regulated, or do you think that wasn't part of the problem?
I don't think that's part of the problem at all. I think the gentlemen that came in from 9/11 came in, they were part of a group. I don't think that had anything to do with the border.
I do feel like we need to enhance our border security. I don't want to stop people from coming to the United States, but I want to make it easier for them to come to the United States. But you have to come with a reason. You have to work toward becoming a citizen. You have to. You just can't cross the border and stay under the radar and live in the poverty. So I feel like we do need to improve our security.
I mean, immigration to me is my parents, not my parents, but my parents' descendants came in from Ireland and Canada and France and different areas. In fact, I've got African in my family because I'm from the Deep South, and unfortunately not my family, but I'm a descendant of slave owners, and so there's just all kinds of mixtures, and I think that's what makes our country so beautiful.
What do you want your children and future generations to know about this experience and possibly what they can do differently?
I guess I want you guys to know that it was a very difficult time, like Pearl Harbor was for me, which is before my time, that it's something that we need to learn from, not from a sense of separation or a sense of hatred or pushing away, but more of a sense of, how can we join together? How can we spread love and support? How can we bring a sense of true community in our world so we don't miss people?
Well, much like the Vietnam War and World War II and events like that I think my parents wanted me to sort of say, okay, never again. I think what you need to do is you need to take what's naturally happening right now, that is your inclusiveness, and you need to make it global.
Kind of bring people in and prevent isolation. Hopefully we can make this world we live in a better place.